Good evening, folks. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 20th meeting of the Stillwater Planning Commission. First order of business, we'd like to welcome our newest member, Zelt Wilkins. Zelt, we appreciate you volunteering for this commission. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. The first item of business is a land use for discussion and possible action of Brookside Stillwater LLC Form-Based Code Alternative Compliance and warrant PZ-16-2120 requesting review and approval of an alternative compliance to the form-based code for multiple properties addressed off 4th, Ramsey, and Hester Street.
All right. It's a long list of addresses to this property addresses. I don't think it's up there yet. There it is. Rather than read them off, I'll show you. I'm Mike Beatty, Development Review Manager. The property in question is the hatched area here in gray, surrounded by purple. It connects the south side of 4th Street, crosses Ramsey, and wraps around the south side of the Avid development that was approved some time ago. Is currently under construction. Here's a blow up of their site plan. There's 3 buildings. Building 1's the upper left. Building 2 is this larger structure on the south side and is between Ramsey and Hester. And then the 3rd building is a parking garage on the south side of Building 1 and on the east side of Ramsey. It's a photo of the site. The houses there have been demolished. This is on the north side of Hester, or north side of 4th Street, looking south. Ramsey is on the left, and Washington Street is to the right. The photo on the bottom is looking westward across Hester into the part that wraps around the south side of the Avid development. This is a elevation of the proposed development looking at 4th Street and Ramsey to the southwest. The alternative compliance request deals with the required fifth story step back and the required base delineation at the bottom of the building. An elevation here, you'll see the breakup of the building. The top floor is to be set back 5 feet or 10 feet. The proposal is to just use alternate materials, a different color. Materials that they proposed are red brick, tan brick, cement board siding, and then metal balcony rails on the windows. Another elevation. Regarding the base of the structure, check with my notes here. Base of the structure, the base is to be a different element than the rest of the building. The expression line between the 1st and 2nd story is a required element, and you can see that in the elevation here. They've got a line, horizontal line between the 1st and 2nd floors, but the base is to be a minimum of 18 inches measured up from the ground. It's supposed to be a defined element. They don't propose that here. The base serves as a grounding element and is one of the elements used to enhance the pedestrian environment. They have the windows lined up, but that's not considered a base element unless you have alternate materials below that. Besides the alternative compliance, there's a warrant request regarding awning materials. The code requires the awnings to be canvas, cloth, or polyester. They've proposed metal awnings over all the doors for a total of 12 awnings. There's an elevation based on the detail. They provided some example photographs of what the awnings would be like. Findings: the development's in the T6 district. An alternative compliance and warrant are required. The alternative compliance deals with the 10-foot step back requirement at the 5th floor. Additionally, the alternative compliance requested, what they proposed is a different material and color at the 5th floor, but no setback. Yes.
The building insets, are they part of this requirement for that area? Or is it, if I go back to
You're talking
that
about,
picture right there,
yeah.
I think the insets are very important in my mind for the architectural look to have the function associated with pulling it back and having a pedestrian look at the bottom. So is that part of that one item?
Well, the setback has to do with the height and not to create a
Yes.
tunnel. So obviously, that face, that vertical face does break it up, but you still have the effect of the vertical tunnel, and it still is going
But if you
straight
go
up.
back to your item, it did not state that there'd be inserts. When I read through this, that was my challenge on this, is that photo I like, but then the requirement under that item did not say they'd have that photo, that the inserts were not required.
The vertical inserts, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not required. It's that the step up at the 5th story is what's
Okay.
required. Now, it can be a
But
benefit.
as an alternate, the inserts could be required by this board.
Yes, you can require it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Do their elevations show those inserts or not? It's hard to tell because they are flat
And the
elevations.
plans show it. The rendering here,
The rendering and the plans show it, but when you look at it
you
just
look at
from
the
the
elevation,
side
it
to side,
doesn't-
you
right,
can't see it.
right.
And that's what's important to me is to, I think that offsets the effect of what we want on the 10-foot setback if we've got those inserts at a certain distance apart.
you can see the relief in the footprints here on the site plan where they've stepped in quite a bit in some areas to break that vertical element up. Okay, and here you can see the 5th story has a different material at the 5th story. You have the vertical elements, you have the horizontal breakup line between the 1st and 2nd floor, but the issue of the base has not been addressed. Alternative compliance, warrant are required. The 10-foot step back is one alternative compliance. Issue of the 18-inch base not being provided is another alternative compliance request. And then the warrant is the approval of the metal awnings as opposed to the material use. Means, methods, and materials for compliance was to be provided by the architect. There's representatives here from the client today. Do you have any more questions for me?
With that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this item can step forward and state your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Dave O'Black. I'm here representing the developer. Did you say I needed to state my address?
Business address would be fine.
I don't believe that we have an address for the property yet, but it's at the corner of our development office at the corner of 4th and Ramsey. Our business address is in Columbia, Missouri at 4240 Phillips Farm Road. I'll open with a few points about the design of the building and then answer any questions that you guys have. One of our objectives with the project was to use materials that reflected the character of the area. So we've used predominantly masonry as an exterior building material. We've also tried to work with the proportions and variety of materials to create some interest so that it has a pleasing aesthetic, for the community. As you mentioned, we've also worked with the setback of some of the exterior faces of the building to provide some variety in the facade. And they occur about every 50 feet down the building where the unit separations occur. Were there any other questions that you'd have for me?
The sidewalks around the building, how wide are the sidewalks?
I believe, understand we're complying with the current ordinance. If we wanted to look at dimensions, I think we have someone here who could answer that.
I do not know what the current ordinance says, so I,
While Patty's looking for that, will this be a wood frame structure, structural steel? What's
It is a wood frame structure. It's type 3A construction, and there may be some reinforcing steel in portions of the building as well.
Okay, thank you.
Was there a particular reason for the metal awnings as opposed to canvas or fabric?
We felt they looked contemporary and matched the style of the building with the horizontal expressions.
Okay.
And why no step back on the 5th floor?
With the construction type of the building and the wood framing, we were attempting to use the most economical design possible. And we attempted instead to create building elements that were repeated down the facade of the building to provide that variety, and use different materials at that level to accentuate the aesthetics and create a cap proportional to the building.
Are the windows is that what you guys are considering replacement for the base, is just the alignment of the windows, or?
Well, we have a horizontal band between the first and second floor levels that proportionately creates the effect of a base, but we maintained the red brick below that band to create continuity in the massing overall.
And it's problematic to put an 18-inch base around that bottom, just cosmetic.
Well, in some places, the grade changes quite a bit along the elevation of the building. So deciding where to put that line, if we were totally flat slab on grade, I think we definitely would have gone that direction. But in some portions along Hester Street, the building's 4-story and it transitions, towards Ramsey. So keeping that line consistent, we'd end up with kind of a diagonal line along the ground level.
Right. Sidewalk along 4th Street is going to be a total of 16 foot. That would include a 5-foot bikeway, a 5-foot tree well, and then 6-foot walkway along the building face. Along Ramsey, it's a 10-foot sidewalk with a 5-foot tree wells intermittently included in that 10-foot.
thank you.
Were there any other questions from the group?
I don't have any other questions.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and ask for anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this item. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and turn it over to staff for their alternatives.
All right. Right. We have, you can approve the alternative compliance and/or the warrants as requested. You can approve the alternative compliance or warrant as you choose to amend it. Or you can deny the alternative compliance and/or the warrant, or you can continue it to another date, certain date.
So I have a question of you. or legal, approve the alternative compliance. If we do that, that approves the inserts, it approves the band at the top of the first floor, and it approves the cladding as the alternatives to the setback requirement on the fifth floor. Is that a correct statement, or do I need to state that?
You can approve as presented, which would approve it basically as they've drawn it, or you can make amendments and approve. You can approve the not having the 10-foot setback at the top, but require them to put a band at the base, or vice versa, and make amendments and approve those as you see fit.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, Mike, there's another structure going up basically to the east of this, is that correct?
Yes, east and north. It fits in that.
That whole
corner,
2 or
yeah.
3 block area is going to be. And architecturally, I didn't see the first one before it was approved. Architecturally, are they similar? Did it have the same type of
No,
requests?
It had colored panels and metal grate on some of the parking garage. I don't have the element, but this has the brick face, and those were more panels.
Okay.
So does this have a parking garage on the south side that you can see from 6th Street?
It'll be on the south side. I would say that you could see part of it from 6th Street. It won't butt up to 6th Street. You'd see it as you came up Ramsey from 6th Street.
Are the sides of the parking garage bricked or covered in any way?
Let me go back to thought we had an element in here. I think just a second. There's brick on the bottom.
Okay.
But then you have,
Is that exposed concrete or is that painted a white color?
I don't know if it's painted.
It's, and the color is integrated into the concrete. It's a colored concrete. It's going to have kind of a finish, kind of like OSU's.
So it's going to be
Parking
not
garage.
a regular concrete that have a color, but it'll have a white type of color integrated into it.
That's what I've been told, yes.
And if we approve that, then the development service are reviewing, looking for that.
Yes, the reason why the garage is not part of this alternative compliance is because it does meet the requirements of the code. So that's why it wasn't part of it. So when the CUBR,
My-
use by right, comes in, and we review that, it will have to match this, it'll have to be built like this.
Okay, because the last developer, which we approved that's going on east, said the parking garage did not have to have any color or anything on it because that's what's in the requirement, and we required them to make it a white color. And to me, this whole thing has to work together, and having white on that parking garage is essential to me to have the look that's needed for that area. They already have it. My concern is if they run out of money in the project, will they back out of that and say all that's required is concrete because I want it to be a white type color?
If you're talking about Avid Square, no, they can't back out because that's the way you approved it. And
Okay.
that garage was part of the,
I'm talking about this new development.
oh, this new one?
Yes. If they come back next week and say, we're not going to put that white there, we're going to make it just gray concrete.
No, it won't be allowed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Well, I think in light of definitely the elevation changes caught my eye on the bottom base. I think trying to follow 18 inches above the elevation is almost impossible. I think they've done a pretty nice job of trying to delineate that between first and second, so applaud them for that. Wood frame construction, I do agree. You need to stack it all on top of each other. Trying to set that top floor in is going to be a major structural issue in a wood frame building. So I do like the approach they've taken with the insets in the building to help break up those long masses, as well as the different textures and color on top. So personally, I think they've achieved what I'd like to see.
I just want to make sure that perspective is what they're going to build, and the development services will review compared to that, and then we haven't done something that we were stupid about.
Sure.
So, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a stab at a motion. I'll make a motion to accept findings and approve the proposed alternate compliance and warrant as presented.
Second.
Vote. That is approved 7-0. Item B will be a land use item for discussion and possible action for Gary and Mickey Roger, preliminary plat PZ-16-2122, requesting review and approval of preliminary plat for the property addressed as 700 and 800 East Northgate Drive.
All right, Mike Beatty. This property is located on North Perkins, north of Northgate Drive, and straddles Hartford. It's in the hatched area here. That's up to the North Tower previous plats. This property was rezoned approximately a year ago from commercial to match the single-family residential. Preliminary replat shows a cul-de-sac off of Hartford, and then drawing a Northgate Drive to the farther to the east. The original preliminary plat had Northgate Drive curving more to the south. You kind of see that in the previous zoning. It kind of followed down to the south. There's a photograph of the top is standing on Hartford looking back to the east. Northgate is to the right. You can see where it dead ends. The photo on the bottom looks to the west, across Hartford, across the part that's going to be platted towards Perkins. Stormwater drainage, the preliminary plat with the original development proposed providing additional detention on the east side of the development, and then allowing through grading, allowing the portion to the west to go undetained, and they've accommodated that. The original plat anticipated commercial development with single-family residential. You've got a lesser dense impact, so the drainage is adequate. The lot square footage meets single-family requirements. The zoning is correct for the development. All of the public improvements, the road, water, sewer, modifications to the detention are the developer's responsibility. They have submitted improvement plans, and they are under review. Revisions with staff comments include the requirement for a 4-foot sidewalk along Northgate, and then a 10-foot utility easement along the cul-de-sac and on Northgate. We find that the proposed preliminary plan is compatible with comprehensive plan of low-density residential development. It's consistent with all city codes with the addition of the comments that we listed. We'll utilize public streets, sidewalks, and utilities. The existing zoning is correct for the replat. So far, we haven't received any revisions from the client. Any questions?
Is a 4-foot sidewalk the minimum required?
In a residential area, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and open the public meeting and motion to speak in favor.
Good evening, Kelly Harris with Keystone Engineering, located at 923 South Lowry. I'm here representing the owners tonight. Mike did a really good job giving the overview for the project, but if you have any additional questions, I'm here to answer them.
Questions for Kelly?
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this item? Seeing none, anyone wish to speak in opposition of this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and have staff's alternatives.
Alternatives, you can approve the proposed preliminary plat, replat with noted changes. You can deny the application, or we can continue it to a date certain.
Any discussion?
I move accept findings and approve the proposed preliminary plat with the addition of staff comments.
Second.
Take a vote.
Mr. Marlar, what's your vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Alrighty. Item 3, approval of the meeting summary and discussion for possible action, the approval of the regular meeting summary of August 16, 2016.
Move for approval.
Second.
Vote.
You should abstain on that.
You don't have to abstain.
You don't have to.
Mr. Marlar, what's your vote for the minutes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 4,
You
miscellaneous.
should have made that comment earlier.
For staff and discussion and possible action, next planning commission meeting scheduled for October 4, 2016. And with that, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Second.
Final vote. We're adjourned. Works now. Really?